Lynch. I'm joined by Shawn Jansen. This is year 4 of the Shawn and Shawn Show. Much like the show Community, they just can't get rid of us.
Yeah, I'm sure they've tried, but we're still here, and I'm excited for another football season.
On the show this week, obviously, we got no highlights, but we got a special package coming out Thursday morning.
Yeah, it's our annual football section where we preview most of the high schools in the area. A lot of good stuff. Actually, here's a kind of a copy of our cover. As you can tell, we kind of went with the political theme this year, where we kind of had some of our players pose as politicians here, kind of campaigning for our Player of the Year. So we had a lot of fun, and the kids were good sports. We went all over the place taking photos, and we got some great shots. Abed Casson does a real good job every year taking photos of this, and she knocked it out of the park this time.
Yeah, obviously it's something we can't do without the help of the community. Several places extended us helping hands to make this thing happen. Merced County Library, Merced County Courthouse, Castle Air Force Base, Little Raymond Museum. Neither of us had even heard of the town previously, but they had a really nice caboose that really helped us out.
And it made for an interesting drive from Raymond to LeGrand, going from photo shoot to photo shoot in Lynch's car on the cattle trails in the hills on this dirt road that neither of us knew we would survive.
Yeah, you would not have thought that would show up on the GPS, but we made it back, and we put together what we think is one heck of a package for you. We hope you enjoy it. Check it out online. Also, we got kind of behind the scenes video that we put together to give you a feel for some of the fun and some of the things that go into making something like that happen.
And also videos of each one of the kids, little short interviews from their photo shoot. So it was a lot of fun. You should check it out. Let's get going. Let's talk about some teams to watch this year. Teams that probably have a good shot at winning league.
All right, well, let's start locally then, and we'll go with Merced. This one seems like kind of a no-brainer. They're the defending CCC champs. They get tons of offense back. They got a D1 prototype quarterback in Tyrone Williams. Obviously, they lost a lot on that front seven defensively, and there are some question marks there. But you still got to feel like they're the team to beat in the CCC.
Yeah, I mean, talking to most coaches, they felt like looking at the CCC, it was kind of Merced, and then there was a big bunch of everybody else. Merced's heads and shoulders above everybody else. They're the favorites in the CCC. They do return Tyrone Williams. He's a big play quarterback. They're going to look for him to run a little bit more this year. And just watching him during their scrimmage against Clovis East on Saturday, he was impressive. And he's got some weapons. A.J. Stewart back, Nick Camper. They got Jabbar Bird, who's going to play more running back this year probably than DB, so they got some explosiveness on offense.
Yeah, you got another tough non-conference schedule for them. I think we'll learn a lot about how good this team can be through there. And then, like you said, wide open CCC. Tough to predict what's going to happen there.
Yeah, you look at their schedule. They played 3 of the top 5 teams in the Central Section if you look at the Fresno B rankings, starting off with Clovis West this Friday night. So they're going to get challenged early, and they're going to have to do well. I mean, it's hard to project them just to go 5-0 in the CCC, but they play Clovis West right off the bat. That's going to be a key swing game to decide. That could decide whether Merced starts the playoffs, if they make the playoffs, with a home game or go on the road.
Right. Yeah, another one of those years where they go 3-2 in the non-conference season. They feel pretty decent about it just because the competition's so good.
Yeah, big matchups with Edison and Clovis North. They're going to play out on campus again against Enox for their homecoming, so that could be an interesting game. And then their other game is against El Cap. Another team that could do well in the WAC, let's talk about Pacheco. They return stud linebacker Frank Inda.
Yeah, Central Catholic's gone. Patterson's still, a good team, but Pacheco brings back just about everybody, and you gotta like their chances going into it. Frank Inda is just an all-around tremendous athlete. We got to see him during the photo shoot. The kid looks like he's put on even more weight. It just, what you think of when you think of a hard-nosed running back or a big-time middle linebacker. They got Jawan Epperson back at quarterback. They got their top receiver back, and they're getting a kid returning from injury.
Yeah, Kalama Kamoku, I think that's how you say it. He tore, I think it was his ACL last year. He's back. He looked good in their scrimmage against Golden Valley on Saturday. Him and Ginda didn't get the ball much on offense, but when you look at those two guys at linebacker, those are two beasts there at linebacker. Ginda has already gotten a couple offers from teams like Air Force and San Jose State. I know Cal showed some interest in Colorado State, so he's a big-time recruit. I think Rivals had him as a 3-star recruit out of California and one of the top linebackers, so expect big things from Pacheco this year.
Yeah, and to show the kind of dedication that they have and that it's all about winning, Genda, who was their first ever 1,000-yard running back in school history, he happily volunteers to be the fullback this year to clear the holes for his teammates, and that's going to be a dynamic run game with those two. I would not want to get in their way.
Yeah. Let's go to the TVL. Well, Hillmar, they went 10-0 in the regular season, lost to Central Catholic. They returned most of their weapons back on offense. They're going to have to replace 10 starters on defense, but they expect big things in Hillmar, and they expect it to contend for the TVL title with Ripon and Escalon.
Well, I mean, you got to feel good going into a season when you got a kid like Jonathan O'Brien under center. Dynamic guy, very, very smart, very articulate. He'll hurt you with his feet. He can hurt you with his arm. One of the kids you just truly enjoy watching out on a football field. As long as you got a leader like that under center, you're always going to have a chance to win. Like you said, they got a lot back offensively. Defensively, they lost almost everybody, and that's going to be their big question mark. But I guess as Frank Marquez put it, their best defensive player is their defensive coordinator going in every
Coach
year.
Steph. They expect him to kind of work with what he's got and get those guys where they need to be, and they're confident that they're going to get things done this year. And they expect to win the league title and go after a section title again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Escalon's always there, and then Ripon seems to be the favorite entering the season. But I feel like until somebody knocks off Hillmar, you still got to go with Hillmar.
New coach in LeGrand, but the expectations are the same.
I mean, he's not exactly a new face out there, but with Rick Martinez moving to help coach at Golden Valley, Raul Alvarez is taking over the program, moving up from offensive coordinator. Not going to see too many changes there, but it's another one of those years where they had some pretty heavy turnover in terms of the kids that contributed to last year's title. So there's going to be plenty of new faces with an opportunity to help try to keep that run going for LeGrand. It really helps when you got a stud like Christian Williams to kind of, set the tone early.
Yeah, pound for pound, one of the most exciting players in our area is Christian Williams. He was among the nation leaders in punt return yardage last year. Just any chance he gets the ball, he's a threat to score from anywhere on the field. So he's really fun, and they expect to see him get the ball a lot this year with Ryan Martinez gone.
Yeah, and I mean, he's not the only weapon they got back. Offensively, they got their quarterback and Frank Contreras back. They got Victor Martinez on the other side. They have some weapons. They may air the ball out a little more than they have in previous years, having that comfort level. I think their question marks, again, are on the defensive side where they lost a lot of guys and need some new faces to step up.
Yeah, I think their schedule allows them to kind of work on different combinations to get those guys where they want them on defense, and that's going to help them going into league. Let's talk about some interesting storylines starting out in Chowchilla, where there's a few good men out there.
Coach Pitts, he kind of tightened the constraints of the program. He didn't like what happened last year. He thought everything got a little too loose and kids took advantage of it and kind of killed off team chemistry. So he really clamped down on things this year, and it weeded out a good portion of, I guess, the bad seeds, and what they were left with was 19 kids. Unfortunately, that's what they got on the roster, but it sounds like one kid's having great issues presently and another's banged up. So they may be going into week one here with just 17 kids.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to fathom a team going through a season with just 17 players when you talk about injuries are going to creep up. And whoever knows what else off-the-field problems that may happen. I guess the good thing is these kids are committed.
Yes.
They've done the time in the weight room that was asked of them. They've done everything in the off-season. So you got a committed team. It's just these numbers are scary going into a season.
No, it's crazy when you think you don't even have 11 kids to line up against each other just in practice doing offensive and defense. So he's had to get creative in terms of what he's had to do. They're going to have their sophomores from the JV team practice with the team all season. So they, like I said, they can have 11 on 11. And then if they need bodies over the course of the year, those kids will be familiar with what they're doing and they'll be ready to just step in. It's gonna be a tough go for them, but they're excited about the players that they do have. They're excited about like you said, the commitment level of this group, and it sounds like the team chemistry is as good as it's ever been in his 4-year tenure.
Yeah, it's gonna be something. It'll be interesting to see how that transpires throughout the season. Let's talk about Los Banos. You know, when Coach Carapresso took over for Stubbs, he kind of didn't change much. They kept with the I-back formation, kind of give what the defense takes you. If they allow you to pass, you pass, run, you run. Looks like this year they're going to more of a spread offense. They just didn't have the guys to bang up front to just try and play power football. So a different look in Los Banos this year.
Yeah, and they got some big receivers, some kids that are going to be tough matchups for teams at that D3 level.
Yeah, you talk about Alec Barcelos, who they're moving out from tight end, and David Walker, who's moving from running back to more of a slot position. So they're going to have some weapons there on the outside. They really like their quarterback, Herrera.
Yeah, and you got some running backs in the pipeline when you can move a stud like Walker and afford to put him at receiver. They like what they have. You gotta admire a coach who's not afraid to cater to what he knows he has and not try to force feed things just because that's the tradition and the way it's always been. So kudos to Coach Carapresso for being versatile, and it sounds like they expect to be right there with Pacheco battling in the WAC.
Yeah, and here in Merced, another storyline. We got a new high school, El Capitan, playing their first varsity season. It's going to be interesting. They're going to be playing without seniors, so they just got juniors and sophomores up. They're looking probably around 40 kids on the roster, but it's going to be interesting to see how this new school does. They're going to play in the WAC this year, playing with Pacheco, Los Banos, Livingston, and those schools. I know they're excited on campus to finally have a varsity football team, but it's going to be interesting to see how they can do without seniors.
Yeah, and the schedule doesn't do them any favors. You get Buhack out of the gate, you get Merced the next week, and then they're joining a very, very talented WAC. So it's not going to be an easy first season for them. I'm sure they're going to take their lumps along the way. But you were out at practice. They got some dudes. They got some kids who are obvious athletes and football players, and we're excited to see what they can do. One more spread offense in the area. We've heard good things about their quarterback, but lots of teams think they have the ability that they can put up some points maybe. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do, especially this first time out against Buhack.
Yeah, speaking of El Cap, our guest this week is head coach Mike Machdo. Here's our interview. All right, we're joined by El Capitan coach Mike Machdo. You guys are getting ready for the first varsity game in school history. Talk about what's the biggest challenge of starting a program from scratch at a new school.
I would say just like you said, everything is the first. So players are the first time, coaches a lot of their first times, administrators. So it's just a lot of things that that schematically we got to get together, and then getting the kids ready, to play a varsity game, and helping them understand really what that's about and what it takes. And so those are probably the biggest challenges up front. Short, feels like a real short, coming back from the dead period, and being brand new, with the program, and even when you have experienced teams, it doesn't feel like you have enough time. But really, you feel the crunch when we don't have a lot of time in between that dead period. So.
How difficult is it with no seniors? I mean, you don't have anybody that's played at that varsity speed that can kind of teach other players. What's that like as a coach?
Well, that's probably one of your concerns going in is we don't get a varsity. We don't necessarily get a varsity practice because we haven't had any kids play the varsity speed, and so a lot of kids don't. We're not getting that real super competitive practice because they've just never seen it before. And so that's what your seniors bring, or even as sophomores returning as juniors, they were played varsity. You get that, and so you have a core group of guys that you can point to and say that's the intensity level, that's where you need to be. And when you don't have that, we have to try to create it as coaches, and we can't always, it sometimes becomes very difficult for them to, for us to portray it, through words.
Because the kids probably think, hey, this is it. This is the speed.
This is as fast as the game goes, and we're going to be fine. And we played. It's helped with the BUAC camp. That was big for us. And you could see the growth from Thursday to Saturday. Really, we had no idea what varsity speed was on Thursday. We had a really pretty good idea on Saturday, and we were trying to catch up to that speed. Saturday went real well. I think we played, at a faster speed, at a faster tempo. The great thing about what we do offensively is it forces them to play fast anyway. So while they make mistakes, they make it, going fast. So, but that's I think it's practice where you're uncertain, for the first couple weeks, because I know that practice is not going as fast as it needs to be, but they don't, and it's hard to get that across. So that's what you lose from those seniors.
It's not the first time you're at a new program. When you went to Mission Oak, it was right after their first varsity season without seniors. What did that experience, what did you learn from that and were able to take with you to El Cap?
I think that, getting involved, we got more involved after that first varsity season in the summer. We went to some contact camps, Clovis East, when they were still allotted in the central section. I think that was big to get those guys that, high-level Division I competition. Which we got at BUAC a little bit with BUAC and a couple schools over there that helped a lot. And then when I got there, I think it was really, by the time I got to Mission Oak, they understood what needed to be done. And defensively, they were already in a pretty good spot. And I think it was just, when I got there, it was, I was winning when I got there. And so I think that the confidence level, you had to help them with that part. I think that was our big hurdle there, is getting, we call it signature win. You can win some games. You can go 4-6. You can go 5-5. But until you beat that team that you're not supposed to beat, it doesn't. To the kids, it doesn't feel like you don't feel like you made it over the top. And that first year I got there, we got that signature win, and it really helped turn the tide, and it really started that run that we had the last 3 years there.
Well, looking at your schedule, there's some possibilities for some signature wins with some of the teams you have lined up early on, starting with BUAC and Merced.
Yeah.
Talk about that schedule right out of the gate.
The nice thing is they're definitely gonna see varsity speed for 4 weeks. They're not gonna miss that. We get a big contrast the first 2 weeks. BUAC is gonna show up and try to run it right down your throat and play really tough defense and stop the run and try to force you to do some things you don't want to do. They're physical up front. They've had guys who've been in the weight room for 4 years. So their mentality is, very, just in your face and, punish you and, grind games out. And that's how they play. And then the following week, with Merced, it's not necessarily that. It's, they're loaded at the skill positions. They're going to be more explosive. So we're going to get both sides of the coin in a matter of 7 days. So I think while that while it's going to be definitely a huge challenge for us, it's going to allow our kids to see this is where you need to be. And like I said, I think we'll come, we'll play well. Our kids won't quit. They'll play 4 quarters regardless of the situation. And I think that is what they have to lean on is, hey, no matter what's going on in the game, you got to go out and play every down and rep. Like, if the game's tied or we're ahead or we're way behind, you got to play like, the scoreboard doesn't exist. So.
You're starting the second week at school. What's the excitement like on campus for varsity football for the first time?
There's a lot of stuff going on. There's we're putting together all the varsity stuff that you have to get. Merced College, we're playing there, which is a great place to play. Big atmosphere. You can feel that place if you're playing real well. It gives you that college feel, that junior college feel, which is great. And we're they're working on banners and the food and concessions. So all that stuff is brand new. So everybody's kind of all in. The great thing is that there hasn't been a day, since we've gotten back, to school or in the summer where if I've needed help with something, someone has not jumped in, be it staff, administration, or kids. And so you can tell just by the response to, needing some help, that everybody's super excited to get going.
Players must be excited. I mean, I went out to one of your practices early. One of the funny things, talking to your quarterback, Whitaker, he said, we're excited. We know no matter what we do, we're going to set school records this year. This is the first varsity season, good or bad.
Right.
They're kind of setting the foundation. So I got to imagine your kids are excited to get out there.
Yeah, and like I said, any these kids have played football, for a long time. It's their first varsity football game, but they played since they were 19 years old. So they understand that practice is practice and game is game.
Uh-huh.
And so when you get closer, of course they're going to get excited because they know that we finally get to play a game.
Mm-hmm.
All this time put in work, effort. Finally, there's a Friday that comes where we get to get paid. We get to play a game. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, and good luck this year.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. We just talked to El Capitan coach Mike Machdo. Let's talk about their first matchup. They faced Buhack Colony at Merced College on Friday night. The two newest schools in the Merced County High School District. Big challenge for El Cap right off the bat.
Yeah, the more I look at things, the more I look at the kids Buhack has coming back, I think they got a really solid chance of being that second team right behind Merced in the CCC. And this is going to be a really big challenge for El Cap right out of the gate. Buhack's always physical. They're not going to be the biggest team that they're going to see, especially on the defensive side, but it's going to be a real introduction to varsity football for El Capitan, I got to imagine.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Stefani brothers. Those guys crack me up.
Yeah.
Just talking to them, they're good quotes, and they seem to have a lot of fun. Hunter Stefani and Justin Stefani. I think Justin's going to have a big year if he can stay healthy, especially running that fullback position. He's really tough to bring down. And then they got a star in Andre Sherman.
Yeah, both sides of the ball. He's a lockdown corner, and I think we're going to see much more from him offensively within the fly this year. There are times that they just weren't as effective running the ball a year ago. I think you talk about Stefani being back, they got Sherman back, and then they got Stefan Eastman. And that's three guys that have another year of running the fly under their belts. I think they're going to be a lot more effective with it this year, and I think it's going to be pretty potent once again.
It's kind of obvious to say El Cap's going to be a young team without seniors.
Yeah.
They're starting a sophomore quarterback, Chase Whitaker. You got to like the size on him, 6'4", about 200 pounds. The big thing for him is going to be consistency, getting that same effort, the same attention on every play, because watching him in practice, sometimes he'd have a lazy throw. He's got a couple nice targets, and he's got a couple nice running backs. And Josh Stewart, kind of a physical running back, 5'10", 215 pounds, going to play middle linebacker and running back. And then Isaiah Knott, kind of their speed back, chance to hit some big plays with him out of the backfield.
Yeah, kind of a contrast in styles here with Buhack pounding it on the ground and El Cap coming with the fly. You ready to
El Cap spread.
The fly, the spread's what I was trying to say. You prepared to go with one of those signature wins that Coach Machdo was talking about right off the bat? Or
No, I don't think El Cap's going to go 0-10 their first year, but I don't think they're going to get a win right off the bat. I think Buhack's got a little bit too much experience and too much firepower here. I think Buhack wins this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think Buhack's got a little chip on his shoulder coming into the season, and they're going to want to look to really showcase in the first game.
Let's talk about Merced at Clovis West. Clovis West picked number 5 by the Fresno Bee in the Central section. Should be a tough test right out of the gate here for the Bears.
Yeah, these games are always fun. Played each other 3 straight years.
4 straight.
This will be the 4th, correct? Or
5th.
is it all right?
Merced's 3-1 against them in the last 4 years.
Games always come down to the wire. We've had 2 decided by 1 point, including last year.
Yeah, Clovis West missed the extra point at the end of the game, so Merced was able to kind of get a win there, and it proved to be big because that's how they got their home playoff game against Jesuit. They ended up getting those 8 wins and got a home game. New head coach for Clovis West, George Patricians, I think that's how you say it, from Los Banos. Grew up in Los Banos. Seems like they have a new coach at Clovis West every couple years. They're looking to regain their glory. The last 3 years, they're only 10-24, so that's a program that's used to winning, one of the more perennial powers in the Central section for the past couple decades. And they got some studs. They got a couple guys that are being recruited nationally. The receiver Darian Owens is got scholarship offers from USC and Oklahoma, and linebacker Caleb Kelly has about 20 offers from schools all around the country, including Alabama and Notre Dame. So you're looking at two studs right there that Merced's going to have to contend with.
Yeah, it is a great opening challenge for Merced. They're going to see right off the bat where they're at, how much work they have to do, and it should be a good challenge. Always a good game. Going to be really fast paced. Both teams going with the spread. Both teams want to play up tempo. Good luck with video.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge. I like Merced here. I think they got a lot going on offense, and I was impressed with some of their secondary guys, so I think they can match up against spread teams. It's going to be a challenge for their DBs, Lawrence Anderson, Jamar Turner. I was really impressed with Devontae Shepard at their scrimmage. Really physical safety, came up and delivered some big blows. Big thing for them, he can't celebrate. He's going to get 50. He would have probably got called for 2 15-yard penalties for celebrations after some hits on Saturday, but I think you'll see a lot of Jabbar Bird probably at corner too, and Alonzo Gilliam.
Yeah, I think this is a tough win for Coach's first time out, going up against a pretty experienced Merced team. I'll go with Merced also, even on the road.
Yeah. Atwater against Franklin Friday night. Start of a brutal schedule for Atwater right out of the gate with their matchups. They got Franklin, then they got the defending state champion Central Catholic coming to town next week. Then they go to Clovis and then Patterson. That's 4 teams with combined 41-11 record last year.
Yeah. I mean, Bob Valado, he freely admits that they did not make any effort specifically to put together that juggernaut schedule, but Atwater's been a good, solid program. Once you get to that kind of middle tier, there's teams that are thinking about those 6 wins, and some teams start ducking you, and this is kind of how it came out. They're looking forward to the challenge. Obviously, Franklin right off the bat is a heck of a challenge. Anytime you take on any of those Elk Grove schools. They met up last year. 28-12 was the final, but close game going into the fourth quarter. Elk Grove finally pulled away a little bit, but main thing here, Lamar Jackson, their returning quarterback.
Yeah, for Franklin.
Yeah, 2,000 yards, total yards, all-purpose yards as a sophomore. They're expecting big things from him. He's got a big body. I think he's listed at 6'3", 205. Atwater's going to have his hands full containing them. Good news for Atwater. They got 4 out of their 5 coming back on the offensive line, and a lot of those guys will be seeing time on the defensive line also. So they may be able to control the line of scrimmage a little bit.
Yeah, they're going to need to in this. You want to keep Jackson on. He really came on strong down the stretch as a sophomore last year for Franklin. Franklin went 8-4 last year. They come into this year ranked 7th in the Sacramento area by the Sacramento Bee. When you look at the Sacramento teams, that says a lot.
Yeah, that does say a lot. They returned a lot of kids. They were very sophomore and junior heavy last year, so they're going to have plenty of experience coming back. Atwater, not quite as much. They were pretty senior heavy, especially the guys that did the bulk of the heavy lifting for the team. So it's a chance for a lot of new faces to step up and make an impact. They plan on throwing the ball this year. You talked about El Cap having a nice big quarterback. Atwater's got one too, and Frank Cosio. I think he's listed at about 6'1", athletic kid. Valdo says they're going to throw the ball far more than they have in the past, probably the most since Nate Sanchez was on campus. So that's a lot of faith to put in a junior making his first varsity start.
Yeah, and not only did Atwater lose a lot of seniors, they lost some guys that they thought would have coming back. Tony Romo, probably their best player, they would have counted on as a kind of running the ball and a middle linebacker, stud punter too. He finds out just a couple weeks before the season that kind of doctors told him it's not in his best interest to continue playing football because of the deterioration in his knees. As an adult, he would have paid for it later, so he decided not to play. They lose quarterback Duran to transfer to Buhack Colony. He may be playing against El Cap Friday night behind center. And then even Omar Sanchez, who could have helped out, another senior who decided not to play football because of an injury.
Yeah. I think this is too much for so many new guys to the varsity level the first time out. But I think they'll keep it competitive like they did a year ago, especially the fact that they got to come to Falcon Field. But I'm going with Franklin on this one.
Yeah, I'll go Franklin there. Let's go to the game. They'll be at Veterans Stadium. Golden Valley hosting Clovis East. You're looking at two teams that kind of struggled last year. Golden Valley had 3 wins. Clovis East had 2 wins. A chance for Golden Valley to kind of get the ship headed in the right direction right here, right out of the gate.
Yeah, this is big because they haven't been able to seize a lot of these winnable games the last few years. They've had some pretty close contests in the non-conference season and just kind of come up on the wrong side of them, and it's tough to build momentum when you don't get it out of the gate. And this is a good opportunity for them to actually be on the winning side of the ledger out of the gate.
Yeah, I saw Clovis East scrimmage against Merced, and they were just kind of outmatched. I think, and I watched Golden Valley scrimmage against Pacheco later that night on Saturday night. I was really impressed with their defense, especially going against a physical Pacheco team. They were able to kind of hold their own, so I think they're going to be able to stop Clovis East. The question is, will they be able to score? They're starting a sophomore quarterback, a sophomore running back, so they're going to be really young. They don't have any returners on the offensive line, so there's going to be some growing pains there. But still, you got a senior like Isaac Daniel coming back. He could be a playmaker for them. He's going to play both ways. And they really like their linebackers, Lake Tucker and Christian Beltran and Desmond Port.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like early on, while the younger guys get their feet wet, it's going to be about creating short fields, maybe getting some turnovers and playing the field position game, something that they've kind of been doing the last few years anyway, so they're familiar with it.
So, what the heck? I'll go Golden Valley right here to get a win right out of the gate.
Yeah, I'll be over too. We'll go Golden Valley. They got a good solid shot in here, and we're hoping for them.
All right. You can follow us on Friday night on Twitter. We'll post updates of games, and when people tweet at us, we'll tweet them out so you can follow the action from around the valley.
That's MSS Sports.